Hello there. This is another tutorial series we're going to be doing. We're going to be creating one of the current iterations of Spider-Man, Miles Morales from the popular Spider-Verse movies. So, and we'll be doing him in a particular style, particularly more of a manga style. So, we'll be modeling him to fit that kind of a genre. And I'll preface this with saying this is not a beginner tutorial for Blender. If you're new to Blender, this is for someone who at least knows the basics of Blender already and is just looking to like kind of look at another kind of workflow to create the characters they want. So that's what we'll be doing here. Um, I don't have my screencast keys on, but I'll be describing the steps of the process as we go along. We're in Blender 4.01, so we'll be using that. And as you can see here, we're starting with my favorite, a subdivided cube that we subdivided and smoothed out. And we're fitting it to match the front view right now. And we'll also be, of course, as we go along, matching it against the side view as well, since if you do that, it's just logical that if you do that early on, then everything matches up as matches up as you go along, so you don't have this big discrepancy between your front and your side view, which that's what you would wind up with if you just focused on one only view. I guess you could just do a straight orbit view where you just kind of move around the views, but sometimes it's simpler to be able to go front back, and push and pull what you need from there. And we're using the box modeling method. We're not using the digital sculpting method, even though I will be making use of digital sculpting, but only like the inflate and move brushes, none of the high density kind of mesh techniques that you'll find, using what is it? The quad remesher. We won't be doing any of that. So I'm just making sure to get the silhouette on the side correctly, as close as I can, since it's not super clear, like how thin he is on the side view. So you see me here creating his chest and get him in some edge flow, some edge loops to give it some definition, and another edge loop to give it some definition. And you'll just see me periodically using the Control E command to add edge loops and just give it more quads to so be able to work that shape better. And in fact, at some point, you'll probably see me using more in order to be able to combine a mesh. You have to have the same amount of edge loops. If you have two separate meshers, and then you combine them into one object, but you need to actually connect them so they're physically connected, then you have to have the same amount of edges on each one. And here I make use of the I got this flat surface at the bottom by using scale Z0, because that gives you a perfectly flat surface to deal with, which is convenient at sometimes. If you like, especially when you get to the feet, you'll see how convenient it is to be able to have like just that flat, nice hard edge at the bottom of the feet. Right now, this is kind of we're adjusting it for the pelvic area, and for the buttocks. So we created another cube, which we subdivided and smoothed a couple times. So, and I subdivided it a number of times to get this nice, I guess, plenty of topology to work with for creating like the buttocks area and the pelvic area. And just now, just moving it into position and trying to get it to match up from the front and side views, because that's what we do as far as when we're trying to combine two separate shapes. Then as you can see here with the buttocks, it's gonna take a little bit of work, simply because how they're shaped in the reference illustration for the Miles Morales Spider-Man costume, and how we have it shaped for our subdivided cube. So it's going to take some work in this area. I guess maybe if you want to try another approach, you could start with a plane and then kind of try to build like a pair of superhero underwear builds. I've done that in the past, so there's nothing wrong with that approach. But I really liked what the nice smooth look this gives me, like using the subdivided cube. So I've started adapting this methodology more, and just trying to find out the limitations of it. And I'm by no means an expert, but I found if you want like nice smooth quad topology, then subdivided cube is a good tool to be able to do that. So we're hammering this out, and you can see the bottom. I used the scale Z0 to make it nice and flat, and I'm adding more edge loops to it as we go along to give us more detail to work with, so we can, when we start pushing and pulling, it's easier to get it to match up to the reference shape without, like, stretching out our quads too much. Like what I'm doing here, I'm trying to get it to match with the backside, and it's just part of the process as you go along. Right now, I want to kind of get an underwear shape going, so I'll get rid of some of the bottom quads, so that I'm going to take a cylinder and then insert it for the legs, and then of course, and then connect it to the pelvic area. And of course, in order to do that, you have to have the same amount of edges on the part that you're connected to, and also the other object you're connected to. So the leg cylinder and the pelvic area will have to have the same amount of edges to be able to connect them. But you see here, I'm making use of the smoothing algorithm, smoothing things out, and then also just pulling out the buttocks. It's rough shape. It's even probably a little bit more oversized than pulled out a little further than it actually is. But I find when you're smoothing things, it tries to make it everything more, all the quads more uniform, so it kind of shrinks at the end. So it'll be shrinking that even though it's stuck a little bit far out beyond the backside for the illustration, it'll be shrinking that back end for us. So I got rid of the faces there, and there were some stray faces left over, because now we want to connect up these two pieces for the pelvic and then for the upper body. And well, of course, we're going to be making use of the uh, smoothing algorithm, the Control V, and then it gives you the vertex menu, and then you can select the smoothing command. And I find myself, you're going to find, unless you have another methodology, you're going to find that using that a lot to smooth and then kind of push and pull points and vertexes. And I think that's the old school way of doing it before, like, they really developed the high resolution sculpting methods. But I'm pretty sure whoever's doing that back in the day had a great deal more skill than I, as far as learning that tricks of the trade. So this is probably not the most finessed way of doing it, but it gets you where you need to go. And I'm adding more edge loops to the body, of course, to the upper body, of course, and just to get the more edge loops you add within reason, the more you can pull it into shape and not have to distort the surrounding faces. So you see here, I've had some issues with them changing some of the shortcuts to select a whole edge loop. I don't know if it's something to do with the add-ons or with the newer version of Blender, but I know some of them, it seemed like you double click the selection before you had to shift off click it. But we're connecting these together now. So they went from being two separate messages to two connected, and you see the silhouette is not bad as far as matching up on the side view. There'll always be some discrepancy. I found if in the especially at the earlier phases between the silhouette and what you're the reference, but it should get less and less, and sometimes you don't exactly need to be with the reference. It's just a guide to get you where you need to go. So, and sometimes you'll find when you could have the mesh lined up on the front and the side view, and it's still off because of the placing, the overall placing, and your reference isn't subtle enough to get those differences. So even though you match them, the mesh to it on the side and front, it still looks weird. But we're using cylinders for those legs, and I really like the curved, the straight design, unlike really stylized characters. But we're not going to be using that here. We're going to be trying to more match what the reference has. So, but normally I really that's like the if you see my other tutorials, like the Bruce Timm method, I really like how he makes use of the straight versus the curb. And what I mean by that is one side of the leg will be like perfectly or pretty much straight, and then the side opposite of that will be curved, and then you might have another curve coming out of the one curved part, or but most of the time it's a curve, and then on the other side there's a straight, and then there may be a curve coming out of the curve, and then the other, it may be like one straight continuous for one side, that may be all straight, and then you may have two curves on the other side of the leg. If I hope I didn't confuse you, but if you look into that, it's a real, I guess, older method of getting appealing looking characters, and it works. So, I mean, I've never seen anyone complain of too much curve to straight. So, obviously, there's something about like that kind of balancing of the, I guess, energy of the form that works. And you see here, I'm matching up the side and front views the best I can. And you always like to get this good shape coming out of the quads and that muscle coming down from where the knee is at, because it just gives you that nice flowing superhero shape that that they've used to illustrate superheroes for years. So it's always nice to get that in going. And the fact that the cylinder, you can angle it any angle you want, that helps as well, because it gets the cross sections to more match up with the reference by flipping the parts of the cylinder when you need to to get the overall shape. So you see we're a little off for the back, those muscles in the back from the side view. So just trying to push and pull points in vertexes and edge loops too as well to get the shape we want. And overall looks good. I mean, Miles Morales, he's built as kind of like, he's kind of gangly. You see, he's got those long arms, and he's got a thin, a narrow waist, but he's got wide shoulders. So he kind of looks like, conveys a sense of wiry strength, which is perfect for Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man, like, he doesn't have huge muscles. His strength is like in his power. He was mutated to become, whatever the spider bite, the radioactive spider that bit him, the mutation, whatever biological reaction that caused in his body. He has he has incredible strength, but it's a wiry type of strength. So, like, it makes sense that Miles isn't some big, strong, muscle-bound guy, but he's strong enough to get the job done, especially when he takes on the Spot. Like he fought him in the second Spider-Verse movie, and then he's gonna be not only going up against the Spot again, but also against a bad version of himself. Well, careful spoilers, but he's going to have his hands full in this third movie. So that's one reason why I'm doing this, is because of the energy the character Miles Morales generates. And right now, I'm just smoothing out the mesh, because you get some pinching in the when the edges are too close together in the center. So you kind of use the grab brush to pull them apart to smooth it out. and the method that I work with, it happens a lot that you start to get that pinching in the center. So you gotta so I find myself using the grab brush a lot to pull them apart to smooth that out. So we got most of the body done. We're starting on the feet now. Like I said before, we're going to the trusty subdivided cube. So, I mean, we have a cube basically, and we just add detail and quads to it until it's the shape we want, and then we turn it into the foot, basically. I like to call this a polysphere because it's made completely of quads. It's not like the UV sphere, which has the three sided uh, faces. It has three sided faces. The quad sphere, and if we can avoid anything that's not four sided, then that's what we want to do. So I just subdivided the cube, did a scale Z on the bottom of the feet to make them nice and flat, and then I'm gonna have enough detail to use the grab brush to push it in shape, and adding a little bit more detail along with that. You see, I also did in the back of the heel, I did a scale Y0, and that flattened the back, so it gave us a nice flat, nice flat in the back of the feet. So, and I mean, that's not ultimately desirable, but when we find ourselves smoothing it out later, it'll flow more into a more natural shape. So I actually had that in mind when I did it, because smoothing, you just have to develop the means to make it work for you, because it could certainly work against you at some points, but if you do it right, it's greatly more beneficial than it hurts you, because it's always, when you smooth something, you're always going to pull it out of its shape a little bit. Especially, you're going to see here, when I'm smoothing the whole mesh, you're going to lose a little bit, so you're going to have to push and pull a little bit to get it back to where it was. And when we start the head, you'll especially see how, because I make use of the smoothing algorithm a lot, and you're going to see, like, when I'm doing the head, that it's really going to kind of some cases shrink the head, because it's trying to make everything, all the quads, uniform. So, but back to the foot. So I just deleted some of the quads, and then made an empty hole there to connect the foot to the rest of the body. And now I'm just using the smooth brush to smooth out some of those, because now in some cases it's too flat in some areas. So I'm using especially with the foot, once I start hitting that back with the smoothing brush, then it starts to look a little bit more natural, as you can see. So it's looking good, and the upper body and legs and feet are done, and we'll be starting on the rest of the body next. So I'll see you. Thank you. Have a good day.